welcome to the We Are CC podcast. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for, I think it's episode 15. I'm Tom Crown. You can follow me on YouTube, and I'm here to tell you about a new cryptocurrency called Decibel. It's definitely not a scam. You just talk into a microphone and you get money. It's a sound investment. I'm joined today by a guy who is a wealth of knowledge, but sometimes a Bitcoin descending Mr. The day trader whose nickname is Superman because he can't go anywhere near Crypto Night. Ha ha ha, Mr. Oz. And the guy who can't get paid nearly enough to write these absolutely brilliant intros. I agree with that, Mr. Poppy. Don't forget, guys, you can follow us on weareccpodcast.buzzsprout.com. All of our previous episodes are uploaded there, as well as Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, whatever it is, Spotify, we're there. And you can follow us on Twitter at RCC_podcast. Poppy, let's get into the content. What's going on this week?
Well, Tom, you know we always love to start off with Bitcoin. So did any of you guys notice where we bounced this week? Or I guess I should say over the weekend.
I mean, I watch it all day, every day. 37.7, 37.4, 2 lows in May so far.
Yeah, so what I thought was really cool about that is if you draw a line out from October, I think it's October, November, probably October of 2020, that's where we bounced from. That line, that support level is still holding us up all this time. So, you know, kind of leave that up to you to decide whether that's a good or bad thing that we've revisited that level, but so far it's held.
October of 2020, that lowest it traded in October of 2020.
I should say diagonal.
That'd be like 13,000.
Yeah, not horizontal.
There's a resistant line flipped.
I know and if you step into the technical analysis channel and you start talking diagonal versus horizontal support, a lot of people have, they feel a certain kind of way about their particular favorite.
Special kind of way.
I had a guy argue with me the other day that 100% I was wrong for ever even looking at diagonals, and I was going to get wrecked. So what is coming up this week? What is the big thing? I think there's something in the news.
Wednesday, we have something happening.
Yeah, just something small, right? The FOMC.
Mr. Chirpow.
Yes, my boy.
Blessing us.
Jay Powell, the Fed chair. So the FOMC, we had this excitement back in March when they had the last FOMC. You know, that kind of confirmed the direction that we knew the U.S. government was going to go in terms of tackling inflation. I think the expectation this time is that they're going to continue to be a little bit heavy-handed, right? What are you guys thinking in terms of rate increases? You think they're going to go for that 0.75 or maybe a half?
I'm still waiting on them to walk it back.
You think they're going to walk it back because markets have been pretty bloody?
They've been absolutely. April closed the reddest April in like 2 decades or something. I don't know the time. I don't know how long back you have to go, but it was like significantly lower than certainly the average. It was a bloody month, and maybe they don't walk it back this month, maybe not next month. But I'm still of that opinion. I said it when they started doing it. I don't think they're going to make it through these. I think that tightening right now is really going to add insult to injury to, look at Netflix. What is Netflix doing? It was trading at $700. Now it's down to like maybe $200. Is it lower than that?
Yeah, I feel
198.
I actually feel
That's
bad
insane.
for Netflix. Honestly, I don't think they don't deserve all that. It's
markets they're not about that. It's down 73%.
Yeah.
I just don't know how they're going to keep tightening.
Did not have a good week.
Yeah, it's the worst. April was the worst monthly performance for stocks, I think, since 2008. And then I saw some other comparisons even going back like 80 years for depending on which metrics you're looking at. Just some phenomenally bad data to look at. The market is extremely volatile, emotional, fearful, and uncertain about what's going to happen next. And I think we're halfway to a confirmed recession as well, right? Wasn't the first quarter? Was it first quarter growth was negative?
Yeah, everything went down.
I don't know how it would be positive.
Wah, wah, wah.
Womp, womp, womp.
Well, as far as the rate increase, I think, there's something to be said for traders having already priced in maybe even a 75 bip hike. So, as far as what it's going to do to markets, I think that's the big question, right? Is it already priced in for a 50 to 75 bip hike, or are markets actually, despite the bloodbath, still holding out hope for that, pullback, as Mr. Tom Crown there is talking about? I'm in the latter. Is it latter or former? I'm in the camp that it's already priced in.
The part that impresses me is actually how crypto is holding up during all of this. I mean, we're certainly fearful, and we've certainly kind of edged down to the bottom of my comfort level. And, as far as at least looking at the Bitcoin chart, right, which is a proxy for the larger space. But it's held its key levels. It's respected its macro support. And, honestly, if the worst we're going to see is bouncing between the mid 30s, and if we can get back up there, the mid 40s, for a bit longer, I'm more than happy to continue doing that.
And for me, Pap, I think I'm on a bit of a higher time frame, perhaps, and kind of looking historically on those higher time frames too. These cycles, they can take a little time to play out, right? So for me, I'm just looking at it from an on-chain metrics, right? Just looking at the macro structure, and it's all looking bullish, right? It's supplies at an all-time low, right? We got interesting hash rate data, and it's all pointing to bullish except for the price action. And for me, especially seeing the big wallets accumulating right now, I think that's a smart play. I think with any, red candles, that just represents an accumulation opportunity.
Nothing has been invalidated. People keep getting more bearish. I'm still bullish. It's going to take a lot for me to get bearish. But I understand people being bearish. It's just that price hasn't gone, it's gone down since November, but it hasn't gone down since last year's swing low. And that's something I think a lot of people are kind of letting their emotions take control here, is they have the perception that price is going lower and lower and lower, but in reality, it actually isn't. I mean, if you look at it, yeah, these days have been red, but until, say, 28K breaks, nothing has really happened. We're kind of just in this range. And that being said, we could range back up to 50s to 60s, and still nothing would have happened yet. And so I think people are starting to kind of front run. I don't know, they're kind of like front running it emotionally, where they perceive it going lower, but nothing. It's really just sideways.
Yeah,
that's a good one. Emotional front running. I'm going to use that.
Trademarked.
Well, I think we saw a lot of that. We're going to get into Kronos and Crow or Crypto.com later. So there's some emotional front running. But you do bring up interesting points. And so I know some on-chain analysts, they get a lot of crap because people are like, well, you can always find a bullish bias if you want to in on-chain. And I think you can always find a bias in anything, really.
Absolutely.
Honestly, it's that's a big part of any sort of analysis. You got to try to account for your own bias. And I think what are some of the things people do? Like, for example, inverting the colors on your chart to where the green candles are now red and the red candles are green. It's an example. Or just flipping your chart upside down.
It works.
It gives you a different perspective, as silly as it sounds. Yeah. Is that have you tried that, Tom Crown? Is that something you've done?
I do it daily, almost daily. When I get excited about something, I always invert the chart and try to look at it again and see if I can kind of tame that excitement.
Yeah. And then looking at the on-chain, though, there's some things to me that stand out as significant enough divergences from what you're seeing in price action and over a long enough time frame that it's worth noting that supply on exchanges is at over a 3-year low. Now, if we say the cycle peaked at 69K, what you would normally see is that that big sell off at the top, which is always accompanied by a massive inflow, meaning people moving tokens to exchanges to sell. And then at some point, that's followed by the final kind of capitulation event. You just kind of bleed out, and then boom, sell everything. And we've kind of seen the opposite. We've seen people despite the price action, and there was a bit of a sell-off, right? I mean, there's definitely been fear in the market, but overall, there's been a very marked decline in supply, meaning people are definitely continuing to stack Bitcoin.
I know I am.
Long term.
I'm not alone. Remember that out there. If you're new to crypto, there's people like me. We're always going to be trying to buy your coins over time. Mm-hmm. Slowly.
And then also inflows. So normally with how fearful the market is, one of the things I like to look at is looking at the inflows. I want to see how many people decide that today is the day I'm going to paper hand. It may not be paper hand. Maybe they're in profit, right? They decide either way. They want to move their Bitcoin to the exchange and sell. They're over it. We haven't seen that. The last I looked at it, and this was maybe late last week, right? Inflows to exchanges were at lows we last saw in 2014, and I'm talking total inflows. That means the same number of Bitcoin being moved to exchanges to be sold now is the same as in 2014. That's a crazy data point to me to even think about, because the space was so much smaller and there were so many less Bitcoins.
Yeah, it's especially staggering since you also have to realize that even more Bitcoin have been produced since then. So it's not just like percentage-wise, it's also all of Bitcoin, right?
And the value's gone up.
All of that to say there's some spicy things afoot. And we're not going to say that we're about to moon to 100K and YOLO, but keep in mind that there's some smart players in the background definitely doing something, and they're definitely accumulating some Bitcoin. But what they do with it, I guess we'll see. So maybe let's move on. I know we love to stick on to Bitcoin a lot. Let's talk about the number 2 thing that's managed to maintain its place on our agenda. I think for 3 or 4 podcasts now. Bored Apes. Am I the only one that's tired of talking about these guys? On one hand,
so boring.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I massively respect the people that bought in early, that diamond handed those through the cycle and made a crap ton of money. Like, my hat's off to you. That's amazing. A great story. And I'm super jealous. I mean, let's be real. All of us are probably sitting there like, man, I wish I bought the apes. But so over the past week, we had their minting of the other side, which is their metaverse. And I think this is probably confirmed, the biggest NFT launch in history, right? So much hype because everyone was thinking that this is their chance to get into the Bored Ape ecosystem. And they're right? I mean, it's nice to own ApeCoin, but let's be real. ApeCoin is just a governance token at this point with a little bit of added utility, maybe for buying stuff, from ape marketplaces. So anyways, long story short, I know you guys on here with me, most of you aren't big in the NFT space. So they did the mint for the other side. Initially, they had talked about doing a kind of balanced, staggered launch. They had talked about doing a Dutch auction. They talked about different ways of maybe mitigating the potential gas wars that erupt on, a big launch or a big mint like this. At the end of the day, I guess they decided to just say YOLO, and they just minted, let everyone go at it and fight each other. And this effectively brought down the Ethereum chain for a few hours. I would say bring it down. It was functioning. It was just incredibly backlogged.
It was not worth using it.
Gas.
It's not Solana. Can I just BM about it for a bit? I've been following the articles and kind of reading on how this went, even though I'm not an NFT guy. I found it interesting. So Bored Apes have had lots of success, and absolutely respect to anyone who bought in early and held them this far. That's insane. It's it's maybe equally or harder than doing so with Bitcoin, because these were so new. So respect to the people that have done well on it for sure. But the way that this minting went seems just ridiculous. They've had a wildly successful project. There's hundreds of millions of dollars involved. And from what I learned or what I've read, it's kind of consensus that they just botched this minting. They didn't optimize their contract. Almost all of these issues would have been seen. These aren't mysteries. We've done mints before. And they're kind of now trying to, I saw a post or a tweet about them kind of blaming Ethereum. And it's guys, this is gibberish. Like, you messed it up. You could have seen these issues. You could have addressed them. You could have avoided them, and you didn't. And now you're going to like blame the Ethereum chain for being congested. It just all seems so ridiculous to me. It does not bode well for the project. Doesn't mean it's going to dump today, but like shows like a lack of, I don't know, foresight or care, or I don't know, like just in general. I think there were $100 million in fees paid in gas for this mint. That's insane. That's $100 million gone from the NFT ecosystem. Really no respect to this mint. Really handled poorly from what I've gathered.
Yeah. And so there was definitely some really good engineers, developers in the space that commented on the contract optimization or the lack thereof. There's definitely some merit to that. But there's also just the fundamental element of like, you can organize a mint in an orderly process. You can stagger it, and just have a very logical, minting process that doesn't turn into an absolute bloody gas war. And that was definitely, it was wild. I saw the one guy spent $14,000 in gas just to mint 2 worlds. And I saw the floor. So if he was just minting the normal ones, unless he got lucky, the floor right now is like 11,000 for those. So did he make out ahead? I'm not sure. Maybe in the long run. I do wish him luck. I do think that, you have some potential there. Obviously, Ape stuff's done well up until now. But yeah, the minting, boy.
And then what about the KYC? Why did they even do that? It seems like they did it and it wasn't even involved. It didn't even matter.
Yeah, the KYC thing, that was the reason I didn't pursue this. Not that I'm trying to hide. I mean, I pay the IRS their dues. They have all my trading history, but like, I don't want a KYC to some random company from some
Absolutely
random country,
not.
And then they probably resell my data. You just don't know what's going to happen with that. I wasn't comfortable with it. I think part of it's something
do not
to do.
KYC when you don't have to. Like, It's not about hiding. I don't want to give like my social security number to just anybody on the internet. I mean, I'm trying to do anything illegal. It means I don't want my data out there like that. It just seems so botched. The whole thing seems so botched.
Yeah, that had something to do with, because I think the corporate entity that manages that was from like Hong Kong or something. It's hard to know. But the other funny part of this, and there's just so many layers to this, and you start peeling it back, and it seems like at the end of the day, maybe what happened was just a little bit of disorganization, because there's Yuga Labs that manages the Bored Apes IP, but then beyond that, there's a lot of other partners like Animoca and I forget who else. Like a whole bunch of folks are playing in this space, and they're all working together. Yuga is just kind of the front man, the leader in it.
Can I hop in real quick? Because I just want to reiterate a point about the mints. If you look at the code, the smart contracts, all they had to do was change 6 words and it would have saved 70% of all of the gas saved. If they changed those 7 words, or like I think it was maybe 7 or 6 words, they would have saved $80 million from gas fees.
Exactly. There's no excuse.
That is a fair point. But, even Vitalik himself commented on this, and his comment makes sense, right? You don't want to give both sides of the story. His was that, hey, if you did that, people would still jack up the gas to whatever price because they want to get in, they want to get these no matter what. Okay, fair point. But what it would have alleviated if they changed nothing else, right? They could have incorporated that and changed other things to actually make it meaningful and save that, $80 million. What they would have done is shortened the period. It would have been more efficient. It would have moved more transactions, quicker through the process, which would have shortened the period of time at which you had those gas wars, because there was times where it ebbed and flowed. And I think just because it took so many hours, it would just kind of prolong the pain. And, the problem is a lot of people didn't just fail to mint, but people lost money on the failed transactions. They lost a lot. I mean, probably millions of dollars were lost by people on failed transactions. And then even worse, did you guys see the price of Ape in the past couple days?
It died.
It's like almost 50% down, almost. I feel bad for people that tried their best and wanted a piece of the action, and just couldn't get there. It leaves a bad taste in your mouth. So, I hope that Yuga Labs and those guys will try to make things right as best they can. They said something about reimbursing folks for gas for failed transactions. So that's something. It's not going to fix everything, but Well, the other interesting thing, though, and this is why I think the whole thing's really just from having all these partners on. I think that there's a lot of disorganization. Is that the terms of service that you agree to? When you sign up, you do the KYC, and all that stuff. They say that you can't resell these worlds without effectively doing KYC on the buyer.
Oh God.
So
that's dumb.
And it's like in Hong Kong jurisdiction or something. Just everything about this is weird. And it's like, if this was a ragtag project that, this is their first mint, I think everyone could say, all right, you made mistakes, you can learn. But this is not, they're kind of like the players, the big players in the game. And they did it just really badly. I don't think that this is going to bode well for them going forward. I think a lot of people's trust is going to be slashed by this, and probably rightfully so. It's maybe not the end of it, but
no, it's certainly not the end. I mean, these guys are still the king of NFTs, but there's a lot of people that were burned by this. I think, my one piece of advice, so just based on that, knowing that information about the terms of service, that you technically aren't supposed to resell those to like non-KYC people. And I want to dig deeper and get more information on that. I don't know if they'll actually enforce it. I would just say be careful if you are investing a lot of money into the secondary markets. If you didn't mint and you want to buy it on secondary, there's potentially things that they could do. I saw a post on Twitter talking about like, hey, some avenues they may take if like the Hong Kong whatever authorities come and try to enforce some elements of this IP. They could say maybe remove metadata from the NFT. They could deny you access to certain services or other things. So definitely do your research before you go, and then buy a bunch of these off of, say, OpenSea.
That's going to be a pass from me.
Yeah, I really wanted one, but when I saw that, I was a little hesitant. I want to see how that plays out first, and maybe I missed the boat, but I'll live with it. I have my
better than boarding the Titanic.
I feel like the Titanic's an apt description for what we're seeing going on right now on crypto.com. So unless you've been under a rock, you probably have seen countless posts in RCC, countless posts on Twitter and everywhere else. People are very unhappy with the reduction in rewards that crypto.com just announced.
Elimination.
Yeah, effectively an elimination. Essentially what they did was they scaled back or just outright cut a lot of the rewards associated with their, up until now, very popular rewards card. They had a bunch of tiers. The higher tiers, you got more benefits. And this is, everything from like improved rates on staking Crow to, Netflix, Spotify for free, or airport lounges. I mean, these are all pretty nice. Nothing that you're not going to see in the credit card space already, but as far as crypto goes, I think they were perhaps among the more competitive ones. So a lot of people, the Crow ecosystem is pretty much capitulating right now. I know, Tom, you and probably Oz have both been trading it, right? How you guys had a short, or are you guys in longs now?
I bought some spot.
Yeah, same. Just spot. I mean, long-term positions aren't really they're not a bad idea here, but they're a little bit more risk adverse compared to spot.
This is an important point of clarification. I see this because I've actually been pretty active in the Crow and crypto.com space for the past year. A lot of people, it seems, only really used, maybe the crypto.com exchange app and the rewards card, which is decent. But I want to remind people that when you're looking at the fundamental value of Crow, it's not the rewards card. In fact, not at all. The rewards card was obviously there to just kind of entice people to come to the chain. Crow is its own blockchain. It's its own independent blockchain. It's fully functional. It has a very active space, actually. It's effectively a competitor to Binance Smart Chain is really what it is. And it's an EVM, it's an Ethereum compatible chain. They based it on Ethereum like most of these. Binance also is. It's integrated with Cosmos, which means you can get access to like Osmosis, which is a popular DeFi destination with a lot of spicy rates. So all that to say, when you're looking at the long-term value of something, this is where it's good to do your research. If as far as you were concerned, Crow is just rewards tokens for using their their services, take a little bit of time and just dig into Kronos. And I'm not endorsing these, but I'm putting these out as just kind of a point of departure. If you want to check out more of Kronos, check out VVS, check out Mad Meerkats, check out Crodex. These are some of the top DeFi protocols on there. And you can also just hop over, because it's part of the Cosmos, IBC chain. You can hop over to Osmosis as well. So there is a lot more fundamental value built into Kronos, I think. And when you guys said you bought Spot, I'm not going to lie, I was thinking the same thing. I think that, I get why people are capitulating, but and this isn't financial advice, but I feel like this is a good range to start accumulating some Spot.
I have the card. So Kevin O'Leary has his watches, right? I'm like that with cards. I went through a little phase where I was obsessed with like credit cards and not maxing them out, but just kind of the way they look and feel. And the Crow card, I'll say, best card I have, in the sense of it's the heaviest. It looks great. Like, I love it, but I've never used it because it's a debit card, and who uses debit cards? But the kind of annoying part, and thankfully not for me, because I got some low level one, it was like 150 Crow, it was like $100 maybe back then, is a lot of people, you have to stake Crow to get these cards. So some people got these big cards like Obsidian or whatever, and they have their Crow potentially tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars staked. They can't unstake it till the period's over, and now they've pulled away the staking rewards. I would be super pissed if I'd invested heavily into this. Like, I'd be very mad. I'd be looking to dump this as soon as I could, as soon as it was unlocked. It's like a pretty big deal, I feel. Luckily, I wasn't super impacted. And I know that maybe it's counterintuitive because I said I bought some spots. So that kind of goes back about a year, and also has a little game theory behind it. So when we were streaming Chart and Crow, we were kind of looking forward to the top out around 92.3 cents. And I remember on that day, I said, I'm going to rebuy at 28. I'll rebuy at 28 cents. And so a lot of it is kind of just me being stubborn. And I said I'd do it. So I did it. It's not a big position, and I'm looking to add, hopefully, if it goes down more, 25 cents. And then I'm just going to, whatever. I don't care if it goes to zero. It's only a few $100. But I'm kind of betting on, this is really bad news. This looks terrible. And so this long is almost a bet on a little bit of capitulation and a bounce.
So I've seen a few comments out there. One of them, one of them is that I believe it was like revenue negative for them. They were definitely doing it. And this is the same thing. You see this from credit card companies, right? Introductory APRs, better rates. If you switch to us from your current bank, this is nothing new in the financial space. And even among crypto rewards cards, the rates fluctuate. I remember folks were a little bit upset with BlockFi, I think, a while ago. And then, we talked about some of the services that started, canceling support for U.S. customers. And, it's always something. But the other part of that is that they want to focus. Well, I guess some people were just getting the rewards and dumping them. And Mr., you as someone in the DeFi space, how big of a challenge is that for anyone, centralized or decentralized, right? Isn't it always kind of a challenge to find other meaningful ways for someone to take those reward tokens and do something besides dump them?
That right there is the core challenge, right? Is you got to have emissions to some extent to stay competitive and offer those rates. I guess it comes down to how they're earning revenue in order to support those emissions or those rewards. It is a tough challenge, and their incentive to prevent the straight up rewards dumping is to go and lock it up and stake it, right? And get other kinds of benefits, cards, what have you. It's one of those things that it definitely works in a bear market. And, I think it can be argued that, we may be in that right now. In a bear market rather. And, things don't quite work the same way in terms of the incentives. So I think it's a little bit of, not too surprising on the one hand, but there is a little bit of, I think it did catch them off guard to a certain extent. Again, when it's up only, things are easy. When things are down, though, that's when the real issue of sustainability and just how revenue is being generated comes into play.
Yeah, and I think they really wanted to move or shift the narrative to the chain itself, because Binance also has a rewards card, but you don't. People aren't upset. They don't even necessarily link. I don't know anything about the Binance card, to be honest, but they don't think about or link the Binance rewards card to BSC chain. People just love BSC chain because it's cheap and easy to use. Well, guess what? So is Kronos. If you're looking at that long-term value, for me, again, not saying go and buy it. It could tank all the way to nothing, for all I know. But I'm looking at things like the fundamentals, like how much the Crypto.com marketing budget is. I'm looking at things like how the Kronos chain is growing. And I think, these two things go hand in hand, and I think they're both going to grow in the future years. And I also think, I could be wrong, I got to double check this. Isn't Crypto.com sponsoring or advertising at the World Cup?
Don't know.
That's one I
think
double check on.
I think we can all agree, though, that this is just another perfect example of Matt Damon ruining everything. I think that's the takeaway. Again, it's I want to like the guy. I can't. Can't be trusted.
Maybe what we need is Matt Damon to come back out one more time and somehow
as Jason Bourne.
Just walk it back.
We're going to post into Reddit and into Discord. We'll post some of the, we did a little bit of research just to find some competitors out there. If you're just in it for a rewards card, and I'm no stranger to this because my wife loves rewards cards, but she only does credit cards. She doesn't do crypto. She lets me do the crypto stuff. But anyways, you should always be shopping around. This is life advice. You should always be shopping around for the best rates on your banking, your credit cards, your loans, your everything. And so we pulled some of the popular choices out there, like Gemini, BlockFi, Venmo even has one I didn't know about. We'll post that data in there, and you guys check it out. Maybe some of those will work for you. Not financial advice or anything like that, but at least gives you a step ahead that you don't have to go look yourself. Hey, so who here? I know some of you guys play games. What are your guys' favorite Square Enix games?
Yeah, what is that?
I gotta Google it.
Tell me it's Secret of Mana. Say Secret of Mana.
Yeah, what games do they have? I don't know what games they have.
Oh my gosh, you guys are killing me. You guys aren't gamers. Although I know Tom Crown plays League of Legends, but
a game, yeah, specifically Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy.
Yes, Final
there we
Fantasy.
Go. Final Fantasy 7. I played it.
Tomb Raider.
I don't say I'm gonna like it, but Final Fantasy 7, one of the best games of all time. Boom.
Man, you guys are killing me.
Okay, I've played Tomb Raider.
Yes. Did you play the remake?
No, I did not.
Man, you gotta check it out. It's a beautiful game, very well done. It brings a lot more to the story. But so Square Enix, they sold Tomb Raider and some other stuff that no one cares about. They sold Tomb Raider off. One of the games of my childhood.
Same, but do you care about it anymore? I hate this. Maybe everyone will hate me for it, but I loved it as a kid back when game selection was limited. But I'm not going to go out and play a Tomb Raider game now. Maybe that's just me.
No, the new ones. I do agree. The old ones maybe didn't age so well. The new ones they got really good ratings. They're really good, I think. So okay. Maybe I'm alone in that, but yeah. So in any case, that's one of their bigger, intellectual properties. They sold that off, and the reason they sold that off was to fund their pivot into blockchain-based games. This is one of the most revered gaming companies, one of the oldest gaming companies, and they're making this massive pivot and selling one of their top IPs to make this change. I can't think of anything that's more exciting in GameFi than that, unless maybe Nintendo. We were all waiting for that Nintendo Pokemon game.
Rito.
Yeah, I saw the comment from someone on Twitter that said, no matter what the apes do, if Nintendo came out tomorrow and said they were making a metaverse, it would destroy the rest of the market. Everyone would go for it. Come on, if you had a Pokemon.
Yeah, that would be good.
Metaverse.
I still haven't gotten into the the blockchain games yet. They just don't. None of them look that fun to me. Miss Teen Crypto has been playing Supremacy, and so I logged on to maybe play with her, and it doesn't look bad. I just don't know if I see myself playing for tons of hours a day or something like I can with League.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they have the staying power, though I haven't given all of them a good chance yet or anything. So
yeah, Supremacy looked cool because I like mech games.
Yeah.
Like I like building mechs and, trying to blow stuff up. Maybe we should, the four of us should get on there. Try it out. Come back with some reviews.
I mean, I haven't played too much yet, but.
What were you going to say, Oz? I guess you had Sandbox. Did any of us try Axie yet? I mean, that still seems to be one of the leading ones.
I haven't tried Axie, but it's kind of cheap now. It's a lot cheaper than it used to be, so I might try that out soon. Because before you used to have to spend a few ETH to get a decent team, whereas now it's literally like 1 ETH will get you a solid team. So it's definitely a lot more affordable, and the focus definitely seems to be a lot more on like the actual gaming element than the making money aspect.
I think that's the trick, is they need to design games first to be fun games and then have like the kind of income or whatever blockchain element. I think a lot of games have done that backwards. They've kind of tried to push a game on top of like a ecosystem of some kind, and it just kind of comes off as not, I don't know, just like not genuine or just not a fun game. I think that's the trick. Like I pay to play my games. And some of these games I look at and I'm like, I wouldn't get paid to play this. It doesn't look fun.
And I think that kind of goes back to a valid investment thesis, which is, in the absence of any price action, would you be proud to hold whatever you're holding, the token, the coin, right? I think we'll start to see, I hope that we'll start to see things, the games that you'd be down to play without even getting paid. Would you want to play it just on its own? Is it that kind of game? I know we talked about the gamified workout shoes, right? The NFT based workout shoes that I think it's called Steppen, right? They're kind of onto something in that same vein, in that they're tapping into something that's already something that people do, something that they want to do, stay healthy, get fit, right? Go for a run. And they're adding additional incentives on top of that. I love that. I'm looking at Supremacy right now, by the way, and I'm down. I love me some mech games too. But I think, it just goes back to, you got to want to play it on its own, right? If it's just because you're there for the economic incentive, there isn't as much long-terminess there, right?
Yeah, I think that's why when we talk about this, we always fall back to some of those kind of stalwart games like League of Legends or Pokemon, because they're fun already. People enjoy them already. Integrating crypto into it just kind of makes sense because there's already that kind of collectability element within the game. That's a great point. I hadn't thought of putting it in those terms, Tom, but building the game first and then the crypto second, I think is really the ticket.
Doesn't seem popular.
Maybe we need to start Crown Gaming LLC.
Right? Yeah. Done. We will be releasing our first project in 10 years.
What did we talk about? What the Crown Crypto Crush? That
was a long time ago. Yeah, that was funny actually. No one else thought it was funny. I did. Yeah, I'm gonna find that mock-up we did. I feel like that could work. Yeah.
So speaking of gaming, we've seen historically over the past couple of years, there's been a big pushback from gamers about NFTs. And we know that originates from a lot of the misinformation about NFTs. A lot of people here know that NFTs are just another crypto token. It's just another way of representing data on the blockchain. But a lot of, we'll call them average, normal, non-crypto people, they're a little bit fearful that it's going to turn into like microtransactions on steroids. I'm of the opinion it's going to give power back to us. And so anyways, Minecraft developers, these are not associated with Minecraft, the game itself, but just, I guess, like independent modders or developers, like not with Microsoft. They had a petition against gaming NFTs, and they only managed to get 72 signatures on their petition.
They got everyone on their block to sign it.
Well, yeah, true. They probably had to call a few friends in too. Hey guys, can you sign this, please?
Some fake names.
Yeah, which I think is fitting because a lot of the metaverse space, a lot of it is either modeled against that kind of voxel art like Sandbox, or it's based on and integrated into Minecraft like NFT worlds. Agreed. It's actually kind of, to me, a very positive sign that we're seeing only those 72 signatures. I mean, that to me,
I'm surprised.
I don't know. Do you guys think like maybe people are starting to kind of get it?
Well, I think Minecraft is specifically kind of in tune with NFTs, and that maybe goes back to what I was saying is, yeah, the game was built and people like the game. I don't get it. I tried it. I don't get it, but people love it, and it's a game that exists. And so to add on top of it, kind of layer a blockchain, I think is really easy for Minecraft. We've seen, well, I don't know, but we've seen Minecraft kind of associate with it. It's good to see so little opposition. That was kind of all over the news. Like Ubisoft talked about NFTs and like got 8 million downvotes or something, like I think that's a positive.
You know what's funny with Minecraft is that since it came out, pretty much the whole time people have been trying to break it, mod it, hack it, just change the game, add stuff onto the base game that Microsoft came out with. So I think this is just ingrained into kind of Minecraft's community. They've always been about like trying to add new utility or new functions to the base game that they were given. And that kind of adds to like the heart of what Minecraft is. It's a block game. You build stuff, you create stuff, and you get given these tools, and then you get to create whatever you want with it. So it kind of goes against the whole mindset of Minecraft to even be against making the NFTs, right?
Yeah, I mean, it as far as I know, I'm sure there was other stuff out there before that, but this was the big one, right? That created the whole sandboxy genre, which now that's, Sandbox stole that name, but that whole genre of just being able to make anything you want, because truly the mods for Minecraft, you really can find anything. I play Minecraft for fun. I follow some like YouTube guys that make, custom levels and play fun stuff like Zombie Apocalypse. You just got to survive, 10 days. And I just get a kick out of it. But you're right. That to me, it just kind of is ingrained in that Minecraft stuff. And, again, we mentioned certain projects. So I'm not saying go out and buy it, but one of them, NFT Worlds, they have a very direct integration. It's basically like a blockchain mod for Minecraft. And they contacted Microsoft and were like, yo, guys, are you guys okay with us doing this? Because we don't want to get in trouble. And they were like, yeah, it's fine. It's just another mod as far as they're concerned. So I think Microsoft, that's good. Microsoft and even the general community seems to kind of get NFTs maybe a little bit more than first-person shooter fans, I guess, because that's where the Ubisoft pushback came from, wasn't it? Like Call of Duty or something that they had.
Probably. There's some good marketing crossover there. Oz said it. It's a block game. It's a blockchain game.
Oh, that's smart. They need to get you on that team.
Yeah. Hey, you said it. I didn't think of it till you said it. I was like, blockchain game. All right.
Good job, Oz. All
right, I'm starting up Minecraft.
Yeah, well, I have that world I still need to build out that I want to. So if there's any Minecraft developers, modders out there, reach out to Poppy and help me out because I need some help. I'm such an amateur at building. So, guys, one guess. What blockchain, what layer 1 blockchain crashed again?
Must be Solana.
I had a little interaction on Twitter. Did you see that, Poppy?
No. What happened?
I may have tagged a certain co-founder of a certain blockchain that was commenting on Bitcoin switching to proof of stake, and this was literally the day before. Then their chain went down. Maybe my kind of rude tweet wasn't meant to be personal, but a little rude tweet. Maybe it had some grounds to stand on that Bitcoin does not need to transition to proof of stake, and then their chain goes down. So maybe that's the little evidence that doesn't need to do so. Glass houses. Don't be throwing stones.
Sure. Well, or maybe he just was really angry with you, and to punish you, he brought down Solana.
He showed me.
I always have mixed feelings. I never want to disparage one specific project that I know does have active development, and
I'll disparage.
The team is working hard, but this is not the first or second or third. I don't know how many times this thing's gone down. I avoid investing in Solana almost entirely because of this.
You don't have a decentralized blockchain if it's going down. If someone can restart it, if the devs can restart the chain, it's not decentralized.
I mean, actual facts here. The chain went dark for nearly 7 hours on Saturday. It was like 4:30 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern time, and it was blamed on bots swarming something called Candy Machine, which is an NFT minting pool. I don't have a lot of familiarity with Solana, but I do know that the NFT scene there is respectable. That's the one thing that would bring me there. But I guess they submitted more than 4 million transactions a second. So I'll give them credit there. Not a lot of chains could even get to that speed, right? But yeah, they generated 4 million transactions a second, 100 gigabytes of traffic that crashed the network finally. So,
did you say Candy Machine?
Candy Machine, yes, sir.
Oh, that's made by Metaplex. Pretty sure one of the guys on the server works for them.
Oh, one of the guys in RCC?
Yeah, I think Bob, someone like that.
So it's Bob's fault, you're saying?
So Bob did this.
Let's all blame Bob.
Financial advice, Bob's fault.
There you go. There you go, everyone. Bob did it. So, yeah, eventually, hopefully Solana gets past this stage. I know I've seen comments about like, hey, Solana is still in like a beta state and so on and so forth. And so I get it. Maybe it grew a little bit too fast, or as they say, put the cart before the horse. Obviously there's some work to do to be able to mitigate this kind of stuff, because by nature, a blockchain really can't and shouldn't be so easily brought down.
What's the point of it? That's like the value of Bitcoin, right? Is the security, the uptime of the chain. You can have all the bells and whistles you want, but if it just can go down and be brought back up, I don't get the point. You might as well just have a centralized thing. What's the difference?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a little scary, right? Because we're talking about how long was it down? Like all day? Like 8 hours? Right?
7 hours.
7 hours?
Yeah.
Like, that's a long time to be wondering if your transaction went through.
Yeah.
Did my trade go through? These are timely things. And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for me, I am, full disclosure, I do hold Sol. But to kind of get involved in that ecosystem, I'd want that assurance that the network's going to be there when I need it.
Yeah, to go bigger. And that is one of the things at least I trust Ethereum. Gas fees are atrocious. Gas fees are the absolute worst in the space, but I do trust that it's not going to crash, although you may not be able to afford to transact. So I guess catch 22. So Coinbase, I don't know if you guys heard, Coinbase changed their listing policy after quote unquote allegations of front running. You guys remember the insider trading? I mean, my favorite part of that too was that some of the coins they had put in that last list, that short list that they had, were projects that were hacked and effectively barely active anymore. I don't know where they get that. I'm really curious actually if Coinbase could tell me where they come up with these lists of projects that they may add. It was very interesting. I mean, that one, I think its TVL might not even be $1 million. But they were going to post it anyways, or they were going to list it.
Insider trading is rampant in crypto, and it's good to see, I don't know, them take a step against it. That's my take.
Mm-hmm. True. That's fair. It is super, super rampant. We don't want regulation. We want regulation somewhere in there. So Mr. X, I think it was Mr. X that was talking about Bitcoin Jesus.
He's got me blocked on Twitter.
Oh, what did you insult him?
Mr. Roger Ver. Oh, I don't know. Probably back in like 2017. It's probably like, shut up about your BCH crap.
Yeah.
He doesn't talk about that anymore.
Yeah, he's basically this guy's a big proponent for BCH, Bitcoin Cash. And he took a bit of a break from Twitter for the past year, came back just to say, and this is a guy that in the past, I think he really was a maxi, right? He would only talk about Bitcoin, Litecoin. He came back just to say, hey, I'm down with Doge. I support Doge.
Down with Doge too.
Is this what we said it? We said it last week. I don't think you were here, Tom. We said it last week where we were talking about meme coins and we were like, Doge is, not financial advice, but like if I was going to invest in one, I trust that Doge has more of a future than some others because Elon's fascination with it.
I mean, and it's a layer one. Like it's a proof of work chain. It exists, you know. A lot of the meme coins are just tokens sitting on some other layer.
True.
Kind of like poofed into existence with no investment. Doge, has been around. People have been mining it. I mean, you do merge mine it with Litecoin, so question mark if that's exactly the same. But it has a community, and people believing in a project that's proof of work is really all that it needs. As long as there's people who believe in it and keep it alive, it'll stay alive, and I don't see that going away.
Yeah. Now, I do love his quote, though. In his words, if I had to pick 3 contenders for the world's dominant cryptocurrency, he included Doge in that. The other 2 were Litecoin and Bitcoin Cash, of course. And I'm secretly a fan of Bitcoin Cash, but I would never place it above Bitcoin itself.
That rhetoric really fizzled out. It was very strong. Like in 2018, you would stream and there'd just be like floods of Bitcoin Cash people, and they kind of disappeared, probably because it's only gone down since it was born or forked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it had a nice little rally, mid last year, and then just tanked. But it is funny he puts Doge in there. So fun news about, we always like to hear when countries are looking towards Bitcoin to adopt it. Two recently. Panama passed a law, or is about to pass a law, to regulate Bitcoin and legally recognize DAOs. So decentralized autonomous organizations. These are what form DeFi protocols, or at least the good ones, where the investors help manage the project. So that's exciting. Good for Panama. But also skipping ahead. Central African Republic becomes the second country to adopt Bitcoin as a legal tender. So congratulations. We now have El Salvador and Central African Republic. And a lot of people might say, hey, these are just countries I don't really think about, or they're not important, or they're not really on my radar. But these are countries that people live in and struggle day to day with, just like you and me, with paying bills and doing all the things that we do. And Bitcoin gives them a fair shot at doing it. So, congratulations to them. I think that's pretty cool. In Central African Republic's case, their other currency is actually backstopped by France. So I guess it's almost like a proxy euro in a way.
We've talked about it before on the podcast, so probably won't go into it in depth again. But we've talked about how national adoption is always going to happen. And please don't think I'm saying these countries are the bottom, meaning in a negative way, but it's always going to happen from the bottom up. It's not going to happen from the top down. So as unimpressive as people might see El Salvador or, whatever countries adopted it, it's still very significant. It was 0, then it was 1, now it's 2. That's a trend.
We doubled in a few months.
Up 100%, it mooned.
Yeah, but I do think there's more on the way. And it's not just that they have to recognize it as legal tender, but there's a lot of other positive regulation coming out. Not all of it. I know there's also negative regulation, but there's positive regulation and support for it from a lot of other nation states. So these are things we want to keep an eye on.
There's something that was really cool that's kind of related. I gave away, I made a bet with Twitter that Bitcoin would hit 52K by May, and it didn't. So I had to give away 1 million Satoshis. Which is like $380 right now. And I picked a random winner that retweeted it, and the guy was from El Salvador, and he had like a Bitcoin beach wallet or something. I was a little confused, but maybe this isn't relevant. But he was like so happy he won, and he's like, I'm going to use this to buy my small tourism agency a drone. And I don't know, I thought that was so it made me feel warm and fuzzy. He's like, a meaningful amount of money to him that he could accept, and he's gonna put it towards his business. That got me in the feels.
That's awesome.
It's sweet. It's sweet, and it's heartwarming to see those kind of things. And I've seen that a lot in this space, where even meme coins, if you send it to someone, because I've run a few giveaways in the past, and you'd be surprised what even $5, $10, $100 can do for some people in some of the countries that. They have access to the internet, but they don't have access to a lot of the financial services and in wealth that we do in a lot of the West, like the United States or just North America, Europe. It's life-changing money, the kind of stuff that we might transact on a daily basis without thinking about it. So that's cool, man. Yeah. I wanted those million sats, but I didn't think it was fair to participate. One final comment. I guess we're gonna jump into some of the Reddit stuff, and then we'll move into the Q&A. So there was two really interesting posts that we wanted to highlight. The first one was from Nob u/no Bijos. Weird names. I don't know what that means. But this guy, he said he analyzed 3,000 plus cryptos over the last 8 years to see how you should try to find moonshots, right? Moonshots being probably like a good example would be like if you had bought SHIB when it was near its low, years ago. He put a lot of data and a lot of time, obviously, into this and came up with some interesting findings. Encourage you to check it out. But I think I hope I don't misquote. I think the general takeaway from this was that it was more profitable to invest across the top 10 than it was to try to invest into moonshots in, like, say, the top 1,000. So maybe that's food for thought. There's something to be said for a project that's worked its way up to the top of the list.
Haven't we seen that with Joe4M and for Joe on Reddit does the top 10 update of like buying from like 2017, 2018.
Oh yeah.
And that's interesting because I don't remember his kind of analysis pointing towards that like, having worked, but I guess also he's buying January 1st. Maybe that's why. I don't know. It's interesting that it conflicts with that. I would agree. That's how I kind of suggest to invest, but
I think it depends on when you would enter, when in the cycle you enter too. That's a big difference. And certainly certain eras of Bitcoin's life cycle have been more profitable for altcoin traders than others. But yeah, you know what? That might be worth a follow-up. Maybe we should be looking at some other perspectives on that. But I did think it was really cool. I love anything that has a lot of charts and a lot of data. So worth checking that out. The other one was from You Set One Less. And if you guys saw in the news this week, Warren Buffett, who rarely comments on Bitcoin himself, usually one of his underlings do, but he what did he say? He wanted to he say he wouldn't buy all of Bitcoin for $25. Do you remember, Tom, or anyone?
Yeah, he wasn't gonna buy it.
Yep, $25. Shows how dated he is. I wouldn't buy $1 trillion worth of assets for $25. Okay. Sure. You're delusional.
That would be, well, you know what? That's the way he would go out. That would be his final trade. He would get all of Bitcoin for $25. Yeah, the rest of that headline, maybe he can, well, I won't repeat it, actually. It's not very polite, but I do agree with the sentiment, which is that, one, you got to respect Warren Buffett. I mean, what the guy's done is just mind-blowing, incredible, phenomenal, beyond compare as far as an investor goes. But, obviously in his 90s, he's just simply from a different era, and technology is not going to be at the top of his list. And understanding crypto is probably, not high on the list. I do think that crypto is predominantly a millennial and Zoomer investment. And you look at the polls. I wish I had some in front of me. I didn't put any in here, but a lot of them show that millennials and Zoomers are looking at crypto as a major portion of their investment and retirement strategy, because we don't trust the man. We don't trust the system. Crypto is a better chance. I mean, for you guys, like looking at retirement, I already know, Tom, your strategy is obviously heavily invested in crypto. I mean, are you guys thinking for your retirement strategy long term, like you're going to stay in crypto as your main allocation?
I mean, if crypto survives that long, then of course. I mean, obviously the economy doesn't blow up, then yeah, I can see it being a good place to put my long-term funds. Obviously, I have a lot longer to think about this. But I mean, crypto, they offer really high APY compared to traditional banking. So either way, even if you stick like USDT in staking, you can still get a few good percentages a year. And I mean, over 30, 20 years maybe, that's going to compound so heavily. And literally just picking between TradFi and DeFi, you're going to be making like 100% more gains because of compounding. So I think even if the rest of crypto kind of just dies in some black swan event, I still think if the fire's around, then it would definitely be the better option for me, at least.
That's a good point. Even if you sit in stables, the rates that you get on stables will, at least at this point in time, far, far outweigh anything you're going to get at a bank. Like, there's no comparison.
I think most people just aren't planning on retiring.
Well, there's that too. But I mean, I think when people consider stables, yields on stables, they look really low. But I think you make a good point there, Pappy, is to like compare it to what's available from a traditional bank right now. And it's still what we consider low is orders of magnitude greater than what you can access today, right? From Chase or Wells Fargo. So to that point, I think there's a real good case to be made for that compounding argument that Oz is talking about. For me, I think I'm probably pretty similar to Tom as far as what the retirement strategy looks like. But I think there's so many unknowns, right? And I think what we're going to start to see is this proliferation and this acceptance / regulation of all different kinds of stablecoins. I think that's really going to be something to watch in terms of where you park your cash for retirement,
Very true. I'm in the same boat. The wife is all very traditional investment strategies, and I'm very heavy crypto. I maybe have 10% other stuff, but like I said, that pushes you out and that's one of the things too, that pushes you out on the risk spectrum. But that is the commentary. That's the thing to think about, is that the current financial system, the current political governance system that we all live within, society, has forced us to step outside of our comfort zone, step into more of a higher risk spectrum of investments to have a chance at a better quality of life. I think that's a very true narrative. I don't think you could argue that. I don't think the opportunities are here for our generation like they were for some of our predecessors.
Thank you for joining us for the 15th episode of the We Are CC podcast. Great to have you guys. As always, check us out at wearecc.buzzsprout.com or on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, anywhere where podcasts are found. Till next week, we'll see you guys later. 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 We'll see you guys later.